Yeah, it's very fair points, Rob. Let's move on though to David De Gea. But before we do that, I want to incorporate that as well with the penalties. So there's a good comment here from Alan saying penalty decisions also had an impact. I thought Kufal's foul was a penalty. He stepped in front of Ronaldo and caused the contact. Zuma's non-call was clear and ridiculous as well. There were some very, very strange decisions today, Rob. I was really surprised at some of them. You know, Martin Atkinson did not have a good game. It wasn't a consistent game, in my opinion. And you saw the Ronaldo one, especially the one when Kufal went across him. That was for me a penalty. But we saw David De Gea come in and he's had a season where I think we've seen a lot of good things from him. I'm seeing him closer to what he was. Real terrible last season we saw with the whole the penalty shootout obviously in the Europa League. I've never had confidence with De Gea with penalty saves. You can see that with his record. It's 3 penalty saves. I mean, the one I can remember the most obviously is the Van Persie one, and then United went on to win 8-2, I believe, in that game. But looking at him today, I mean, that was absolutely brilliant. That was I'm so happy for him, because if there's one player that's taken a lot of flack over the last year or so and he hasn't been good, he's lost United points, even though he's got a lot of credit in the bank for years and years of carrying this Manchester United team for at least a good 4 or 5 years. Great save. I'm still puzzled why Moyes brought on Noble for that penalty right at the end. I mean, I think that was a little bit strange, but he has got a great record. But yeah, what are your thoughts on David De Gea? Because he really is having a little bit of a redemption story this season, and I'm just really happy for him. For me, Man United's number one. There's still a few things that, you know, in terms of he's still shaky a little bit under the high ball that's not been fixed. But for me, he takes that spot as the number one goalkeeper at Manchester United.
Well, just to show that I'm neutral in my analysis, the 2 Ronaldo penalties that weren't given, I agree with. I don't think they were penalties. They're not penalties this season. Why they're not penalties? Because we're allowing much more contact. We're allowing players to get closer. And even though that, yes, they did touch. And I think you see with the second one, you see it from the second angle. Yeah, the first angle, it looks very close. It looks like he brings him down. And then when you look from the angle from behind, what does Cristiano do? Does that classic jerk over the leg. Yeah, because he's feeling the contact. He's looking for it. He's selling it. And that's why VAR didn't give it, because the referee sees that, he sees that jerk, and basically players are allowed to come together this season. So I didn't think those 2 things were penalties. I also think the Luke Shaw penalty could well be debated, because we've changed the handball ball this year. So yes, it hit him on the wrong side of the point of the elbow, which is why the penalty was given. But what I will say is this, is that the referee saw that, the referee was right in front of it. It was like 12 yards from it. And his first decision was no penalty, because he saw that Luke was in what is now a natural position. If you're going across and you'll put your arm out, as long as your arm isn't completely extended, then it's kind of considered a natural position, but you're leaning that way. So that's what the rule changes changed. But what happened? VAR saw it, told the referee to go and refer, have a look. He looks at it. Luke's arm is out a bit. It does hit him just the wrong part of the elbow on this side. They give a penalty. David De Gea. So as soon as David De Gea got himself ready for that penalty, and then the strange decision to bring on a substitute to take a penalty for no reason at all, except that, of course, Noble is a very good penalty taker. I thought with David, I didn't think he'd save it. You know, I really, really didn't. But I think that this plays into the narrative that David De Gea really wants to be Manchester United's goalkeeper. You know, I think I said in previous shows that that it's kind of well documented that he's been to the manager and said, I want to stay, I want to play, I want to be the number one. He came back early from his holiday to train hard. And you can just tell that there's something different about him, just in terms of an uptick. You know, he knows he's got this young buck on his, on his tail. He knows that this guy will take his place and he's going to sit on the bench. And De Gea doesn't want it. Now, I'm not saying that's why he saves the penalty today, but you could see that De Gea looked confident in that moment to me. You know, he looked like ready to save that penalty. And obviously it was big, strong hand. Not a great penalty. Pretty easy, I think, for most goalkeepers if they dive the right way, off the ground, 2-3 feet, nice and easy. But credit to David De Gea, because I think David De Gea, there's still a lot more to come from him. I do think that it'll be a battle for him to keep the gloves off Henderson. But at the moment, Henderson doesn't start. You know, there's no way that you could pick Henderson at the moment over De Gea. De Gea is showing all the things that he needs to show. He's not the goalkeeper from 5 years ago. But I think this could be a bit of a renaissance season from him in terms of coming back. And he has to keep doing this. He has to keep saving United. He's done it now 2 or 3 times this year.
In the last game he did it, and then he did it the game before against Southampton. Remember with the save?
Well, the Wolves one as well, wasn't it? The Wolves on the line where he saves it, gets his hand up.
He saved United 6 points, I believe. so far this season.
Yeah, so even so early in the season, we just talked about the table at the start of the show. 6 points is a lot of points at this part of the season, isn't it? Now, at the end of the season, 6 points is still a lot of points. If you lose the title by 3 points or 2 points or 1 point, then you're looking at where you lost points. But you very rarely remember that it was actually a goalkeeper save that earned you the points early in the campaign. So I think that De Gea is an asset. He's an experienced player. And I think United need to lean on their experienced pros now. Now, Ronaldo's one of them. Bruno's one of them. De Gea is one of them. These are guys who are kind of captains in their own rights that people will listen to in the dressing room. And that will help the young players who are coming through. And Henderson's going to have to watch and learn, because he didn't have a great spell at the end of last season. Henderson did okay, but wasn't great. Then obviously he's had injuries. So when he gets his chance, and no doubt it might be, in the League Cup, it might be in these games, the games that he doesn't really want to play in, he's now got to show that his form is at the very height of it that it can be. Because De Gea is playing at a standard now that he has to, at very, very least, match.
Yeah, just to sort of wrap up on that as well, I do want to say that what's impressed me the most is that I know David De Gea is on a massive wage. We all know that. So it would have been difficult for United to ship him off, but he could have gone to another club in Europe and been number one. Like, he's still good enough to do that. It's the fact that he's actually wanted to stay and fight for his place is something that I'm very impressed with. And he deserves that, Rob. You know what? He stayed. I know this is a bit more nostalgia, but he stayed at this club when he could have gone to Real Madrid and won multiple 4 Champions Leagues or whatever it was, and he stayed, and he does have that credit in the bank. And I know that you need to pick players on form, but I was still always of the view that I was never really convinced with Henderson. I think he's better off his line, and he's better at commanding his box. But for me, David De Gea is a superior keeper overall, and I'm just really pleased to see David do that, and I want him to continue it, because I think that if there's one player that does deserve to go and win a Premier League title or even a Champions League here at this club, it's David De Gea for me.